Malcolm Turnbull and Bill Shorten temporarily set aside their differences today to visit the towns ravaged by Cyclone Debbie. But as soon as they were back in Canberra, the increasingly spiteful battle between the Prime Minister and the opposition leader resumed. Negotiations are continuing with the crossbench to see just how much of the government's ambitious $50 billion company tax plan will succeed in passing the Senate. But as political correspondent Andrew Probyn reports, it's not the government's only challenge, with Labor conscripting the minimum wage to its class war rhetoric.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's Bill Shorten.
How you going?
So we've got to come up and thank you for the great work you're doing.
Leaving behind a political landscape of rancour and division.
Tread lightly, guys. I don't want you to
We'll give you a hand. Can you do that?
Oh, right up.
Perhaps it's fitting natural disaster should bring its chief combatants together.
Sorry about that. It's great to see you guys working together. Yeah, brilliant.
The resilience of the community is backed up by the whole nation. Bill, and we're on a unity ticket here today, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Good on you, mate.
Very good. I just want to add my words to the Prime Minister's. We congratulate the strength of the local community.
Back in the place where wind always blows, it began gentlemanly enough.
Today, the Prime Minister and I toured regions in Queensland affected by Cyclone Debbie. I thank the Prime Minister for dealing with these events in Queensland on a bipartisan basis.
Likewise, thank the Leader of the Opposition for agreeing to my invitation to join me today in North Queensland.
But it was too much to expect long-lasting civility on what was meant to be the last parliamentary sitting day before the budget. And Labor had a new attack, pressing the government on its annual submission to the minimum wage case.
Why does the Prime Minister believe that Australia's biggest companies deserve a $50 billion tax handout, but a worker on $17.70 per hour doesn't deserve a decent pay rise?
The Labor Party has made one submission in government after another to the minimum wage annual review. None of those submissions recommended a specific increase in minimum or award classification wages. Now, Mr Speaker, we know many Australians are doing it tough. That's why we are seeking to drive more economic activity. We have made a responsible submission to the Fair Work Commission. It is consistent with the submissions made by many governments in the past.
For a government already enveloped in a class war with Labor, fuelled by proposed tax relief for big business and penalty rate cuts for shift workers, it's not helping itself. It's recommended the Fair Work Commission take a cautious approach when ruling on the minimum wage, in part because low-paid employees were often found in high-income households. As political arguments go, it's self-sabotage, as the Employment Minister found out on Melbourne radio.
How many of those 200,000 people have got fat, rich parents at home?
Oh, well, it's not necessarily fat, rich parents, and I'd never say that.
All right, well, how many people have got, how many of these low-income earners earning their $17 an hour go home to wealthy support?
Oh, look, and again, that is not what the government is saying.
Yes, it is. The electorate will look at that and say, you elite lot. I mean, how many of the middle-aged women going and cleaning toilets in hotels today are going home to a rich sugar daddy? I mean, it's...
No.
That is what you're saying here.
No. I really... No, I do take issue with that.
Michaelia Cash's unfortunate run-in with Neil Mitchell was a gift to Labor.
I'm accusing the government of arguing for a freeze to the minimum wage.
And there's nothing in their submission that says that they support a freeze to the minimum wage?
All of their arguments are about keeping the minimum wage as low as possible. It's the Liberal Party, that's who they are.
But to assert that the government supports a freeze to the minimum wage, that's a fib, isn't it?
No, all of their actions are about keeping wages as low as possible. They're not supporting a fair and responsible increase to the minimum wage, and we've got wages at record low, wages growth at record lows in this country.
But again, it's a fib to say that they want to freeze.
No, it's not.
The opposition's political calculation remains simple. By opposing the $50 billion tax plan, it can continue its age-old us and them argument. Sure, Labor has previously supported cutting company taxes, but complaining about constancy in politics is like whinging about mess when you've just left a bunch of toddlers alone with spray cans. The Fair Work Commission's decision on penalty rates and the government's own goal on the minimum wage have only helped affirm Labor's political strategy. But Bill Shorten's decision to deny tax relief to companies, big and medium, still flummoxes business chiefs.
What's extraordinary about the Labor Party's position is that this was a policy in government that they were strong advocates for, on the grounds that we agree with, that this drives productivity, which drives higher incomes. You cannot get people's wages up unless you get a terms of trade hit, which we do not control in terms of commodity prices, or you get productivity rising, which creates higher incomes. Now, they want to see higher incomes. Chris Bowen says the benefits of company tax will fall to workers. So why now walk away from it? Why now walk away from this economic policy that they were absolutely committed to?
We have to draw the line somewhere, Andrew, and our priority is making sure that any tax cuts for business are affordable. And the most affordable way to go about it and to incentivise genuinely small businesses is to draw the line at $2 million so that we can do what we can to secure the AAA credit rating, to improve the budget bottom line at the same time as we support those small businesses.
The government will secure tax cuts for businesses, but likely limited to those with turnovers of up to $10 million. This would see the May budget carrying $1.5 billion in phantom spending over the next 4 years. That's because Malcolm Turnbull decided last week not to cut and run from his entire tax plan, as some in his ministry thought wise, and this has to be accounted for in the budget papers. Bill Shorten can't be happier. He has the PM on the run on penalty rates and the minimum wage, and now he has a government that's keeping on the books billions in tax cuts, which gets Labor off the hook for its rival spending. And so the pre-budget parliamentary session ends with the Labor Party believing it struck a winning combo.